Good evening, all. Hey, welcome to Muckin N Grindin. I got a couple things to talk about tonight. Shocking events of Jim Rutherford resigning out of nowhere. There's been a bunch of conflicting reports. Some where he needed a contract extension and he didn't get it. Some where he had a trade involving Chris Letang, and the ownership group vetoed that, said, no, Chris Letang's not going anywhere. We've heard, there's been quite a few different things speculated. He was on the Mark Madden show the other night, and he said it was just time to go. Said it wasn't health reasons, it wasn't anything else. We'll just have to take his word for it for now. Hopefully in the upcoming days or even maybe after the season, we'll find out more. He didn't retire, so there's a possibility he could end up at another club. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, see how it plays out, how these things work. Usually it takes a little bit of time before the truth comes out. But in his last thing he did before resigning was signing 32-year-old defenseman Yannick Weber to a two-way deal worth $700,000. He should be joining the Penguins actually this weekend in New York. He went through his quarantine while he was waiting to clear waivers. That name sounds familiar because he's played with Montreal, Vancouver, and latest was Nashville. He played with Nashville from 2016 to 2020. He's in his career, he's had 28 goals, 66 assists, and 497 career games, including 12 power play goals and 5 game-winning goals. Everybody will remember him playing, with that great defensive core in Nashville with Ryan Ellis and Roman Josi and PK Subban back in the Cup Finals. He was part of a really, really good defensive core. Hopefully some of that veteran leadership will carry over. I'd love to see who he's going to be paired with. These pairs have been jumping around like crazy. The frustrating part for me so far has been Chris Letang's play, coughing up the puck too much, not shooting the puck when he should be shooting the puck, passing it when he should have shot it. Malkin's the same way, but Malkin said, hey, I got to play better. Chris Letang refuses to say that he needs to play better. I'm just unsure if he knows that he has to do that or not, or maybe his ego needs checked. The other speculation, with, back to Rutherford is what we don't like. Sully said that they have a great relationship, and Sully said that he is the best general manager in the NHL. There's a possibility that GM JR wanted, Letang to be benched a game, or certain pairings to be playing together, certain line mates to be playing with Sid, and Sid refuses to have this stuff. Well, we're coming to a point in certain guys' careers where they shouldn't be able to make those decisions anymore. You know what I mean? It should be a team decision whether they like it or not. I know it's Sidney Crosby, but he's not putting up the numbers he used to. Kid's a great player still. He's only 33 years old. Malkin's 34. Letang's 34. Comes a time in these guys, careers where they got to say, hey, look, bite the bullet. You're playing who we want you to play with instead. Like they wanted Kapanen to play with Gensel and Crosby, but it just looks like Crosby says no, and he's playing with Gino. And Brian Rust got moved up to the top line, which I have no problem with Rusty playing up top. I'd rather see the lines be Zucker, Crosby, and Rust with Gensel, Kapanen, and Malkin together. Jankowski, Bluger, and Tanev, I wouldn't mess with that line one bit. It's a fantastic line. It's been great so far. Colton Sevier has been playing very well. He's kind of like the Pascal Dupuis of the Marin Hossa deal. He's the throw-in for Mike Matheson. which we'll get to the mash unit of injured defensemen that we have. Dumoulin's out week to week. Matheson's out week to week. These are two of your top guys. Juuso Riikola's on long-term IR. Evan Rodriguez, who's a forward, is on long-term IR, which saves them some salary cap space. Not exactly sure how much, but we can look because we do have the technology. So, cap-friendly Penguins. Cap-friendly, the best. Cap-friendly has got to be the best app ever created. Goes through with every bit of detail. And right now, the Pens are $1.123 million, $1.1 million under the cap right now. They have projected cap space of $152,000. That's not counting the IR stuff. With long-term injury, they still have $1.5 million. 1.4 million in cap space they can use going forward with guys going on injured reserve. That's 1.15 million for Riikola, 1 million for Zach Astor-Reese, and 700,000 for Evan Rodriguez. So we'll see what happens. Will Riley's been added to the taxi squad. Anthony Angelo has been added. Frederick Gaudreau, who actually played with Yannick Weber in Nashville at the time in 2016. They were former teammates. I mean, it'd be nice to, like, Gaudreau's a forward, but Weber's a defenseman. But it'd still be nice to see these guys put back together on a roster to get some playing time, get some familiarity for the two. Unfortunately for me, this show is going to be a quick one as usual. I have no heat in my house. My furnace has actually decided to die on us, and we're waiting for parts to come in. But it's like I'm at the rink. Nose is cold. But right now, with defensive pairings being jumbled around, P.O. Joseph has lived up to every bit of the hype that he was given, being a top prospect. He actually leveled. I think it was Matt Grzelcyk. He leveled last night with a great hit in towards the end of the first period. He's played well. He's got good speed. He's got good puck skills. He's actually had some really good thinking moments, where he looked like a 5-6 year veteran out there instead of a rookie. And also his brother just won a Stanley Cup with the Tampa Bay Lightning last year. The fact that he's got good bloodlines both him and his brother are both really good hockey players. The other addition to this lineup since Evan Rodriguez has been out has been Drew O'Connor. He's 22 years old. He's a big kid. He's 6'3", I think 6'3" or 6'5", 220. He's a big body. He likes to go to the front of the net. He was fifth in the nation in goals scored. His last year in college, he was fifth in the NCAA. He's got a scoring touch. He's got good speed. He's not afraid to go to the dirty area out in front of the net. Just playing with. I think he's been playing with Colton Sevier a little bit, and then they've moved him around up and down the lineup. Give him a shot up top. I mean, you have nothing to lose. It'd be nice to, give him that. Heard a lot of grumblings on the radio from other analysts, if that's what you want to call them, or talking heads, as most of them get called. With the broadcast journalists that are in town, talking about how Tristan Jarry is actually rated right now as the worst goaltender in the NHL. Matt Murray's right there with him. If anybody watches the games and they see, he gave up a power play goal last night, and one goal was actually, or two power play goals last night. One was a deflection off of Kevin Kutzman. and the other one was another deflection out in front. Um, Deflections are not a goaltender's strong suit. They're set to make the save, and a lot of these guys who have never played goalie or even played the game can sit there and say, "Oh, well, your goaltender has to make these saves. He has to be this. He has to be that." Well, I'd love to see those guys get on a pair of skates, get all that equipment on, and go out there and try to do their job. At least try to make one save. A lot of these guys couldn't even get to go out there and skate. It's annoying when they talk. Oh, he has to make these saves. You can't make a save if you're in position for the shot and then it gets deflected off of your own defenseman or your defenseman, which as of late have been leaving the goaltenders out to dry. It's frustrating. These guys need to just be quiet. Let these guys play. They'll figure it out. Injuries have had a lot to do with it. You got a lot of guys who are playing with defensive partners that they've never played with. The whole defensive core is, injured. One of the highlights, I will say, besides P.O. Joseph, John Marino is going through it looks like the sophomore slump. He's having a little bit of issues but then again, he's not playing with the same defensive partner. He's playing the opposite side he usually plays on. Is Cody Ceci. When the Penguins picked up Cody Ceci, I posted this the other day last night after he scored, which was actually a very good play, and he had good speed to get to the puck. He beat actually Brad Marchand to the puck, and Marchand's one of the faster players in the league. They were coming off the boards. He beat him to the boards, come through the slot, and put it right through the 6 hole. And it was a really well-placed shot. Everybody said that, well, not everybody. A lot of people said, "Oh, this guy's worse than Jack Johnson. Why did we pick him up? What a waste. Can't believe we have this guy. This is a waste of money. What about this guy? What about that guy?" Well, if it wasn't for Cody Ceci right now, we'd be really hurting because you'd be down to having maybe Cam Lee in your in the lineup, and I don't think Cam Lee's ready yet. He's a good young defenseman, but he's nowhere near ready to be in this lineup. I got all kinds of heavy traffic behind me. I'm usually in the living room by myself, but everybody's it's where the warmth is. So, yeah, it's just been one of those, days or one of those seasons so far with, everybody's going through the motions and stuff like that. We'll have to wait and see what happens, further down the line. We'll see what Patrick Alvin, the new GM in interim right now, see if he maybe gets a deal for a defenseman to, help out the back end. There's I'm speculating that Joe Sakic's right-hand man there in Colorado could possibly be a guy that you could watch for as a general manager candidate to come in and interview. Drawing a blank on his name right now. I just saw it earlier. One of the guys I would love to see, and I know he interviewed for a couple jobs this offseason, is Kevin Weeks with NHL Network. He's got a great rapport with everybody in the NHL. A lot of people like him. Just have to wait to see what happens. Maybe Patrick Alvin, with his 15 years of being with the Penguins organization, maybe it's his time to shine, and he may pull off a few deals that, help this team out in the long run. I know the ownership group has said that, Gino, Sid, and Letang are never going to go anywhere. I know they have, different no trade clauses and things like that. And, Sid's never going to go anywhere. But I honestly think if you want to keep the run going where you're a top team in your division and stuff like that year after year, you're going to have to part ways with either Sid or not Sid, Gino or Letang or both. Preferably, it would be Letang because you could still get maybe a couple draft picks for him and maybe a young third line forward, or second line forward. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I mean, I've been kind of over Letang for the past couple of years now. Friends of mine know that. I've never been a fan. Um, I just don't like how the coughing up the puck too much, too many giveaways, and then the chirping whenever something doesn't go his way, or if he gets called for a penalty. It's just a crybaby in my book. Um, I have nothing for him. Hopefully, Tristan Jory and Casey DeSmith um, get get moving. I mean, I understand with the defensive guys being out, it's hard for them. Big Sean Evans from Off the Top Rope says you can probably get more for Gino, which is actually true. You probably could, but his no trade clause is a lot harder to get through than Letang's is. I was looking at it earlier. Gino's would be a 5-team trade to only. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look at it again because those no trade clauses are really tricky and there's a lot of fine print you got to read. But Letang's is, I think, a 10 team. Gino's is, Letang's is a modified no trade clause. Gino's is a no trade clause, period. But it's different. I mean, yeah, you could probably get a lot, for Gino, a couple more draft picks. Prospect wise, you're not going to get a whole lot for either one of them, considering their age. They're both going to be 35 coming up. So it's one of those things. But yeah, let's keep the season going. I'm a really big fan of this schedule where they're playing teams twice in a matter of either back-to-backs or they're having a day in between. It's fantastic. It's building rivalries back from the old Patrick Division days. The Canadian division is fantastic. Every game that I've watched from the Canadian division so far has been either high scoring or it's been nothing but gloves thrown and stuff like that, considering just the other night, Calgary and Toronto, Jake Muzzin at the end of the game flipped the puck at Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk didn't like it very much. I mean, it was kind of harmless in a way, but it was kind of showing him up it a little bit too, because Matthew Tkachuk's a dirtbag. Everybody says that Brad Marchand's the dirtiest player. I think Matthew Tkachuk has taken over the reins of that. He takes runs at guys and stuff like that in the corners and against the boards, and then chirps and constantly being a dirtbag. He got up and tried coming after him and stuff like that. And then the best thing is they played last night again, and it got chippy again. And it's great to watch because you're building rivalries with teams that you would probably have never, like, with Calgary being in the Western Conference and Toronto being in the Eastern Conference, they play each other twice a year if they're lucky, schedule-wise. But this time they're playing 10 times. They're going to play each other 10 times. It's fantastic. The bad blood that's going to boil and go on from there. There's been little grumblings here and there of possibility of maybe keeping these divisions sort of kind of the way they are. Seattle most likely would end up joining that Canadian division. But it just have to wait to be seen. And to be honest with you, I would love for them to keep the schedule kind of the way it is. Maybe not play, like the Penguins playing Boston and everybody 8 times. Maybe playing them 6 times and then playing a couple other outer division games throughout the season, just to break the monotony of playing the exact same teams all over. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. It's kind of a slow spot. I mean, season's really just getting going. The NHL on NBC had a stat out, which I shared. It was Dallas and Carolina were the 2 best with goals against average, considering both of them had only 3 games each because of COVID protocols and stuff like that. They were shut down. Big Sean from Off the Top Rope from Live Moth, he says, keep them the way it is. Love that old fashioned style play. Absolutely, I totally agree, dude. Um, the the uh, fact that you're building rivalries that used to be there in the like 80s and 90s when the division when it was the Patrick division and Norris division. Um, Sean wants to know about GMJR leaving. We talked about that earlier, but I don't have any hard feelings. The guy's 71 years old. Um, he could pretty much write his own resume. I mean, he's a three-time Stanley Cup champion. Once with Carolina, twice with back-to-back here. He's already in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Um, the other thing is I don't know. A lot of people don't know that he actually was a Penguins goaltender in the late '60s, early '70s. Um, the there was so much speculation. Like I said earlier, was he was unhappy with not getting a contract extension. Nobody knows because he, in his interview with Mark Madden, he didn't, elaborate to anything like that. He said it was just time, and he felt like the time was right. Some other sports writers in town think, oh, he quit on his team. He's a general manager. Look, these guys got to go out there and play. I mean, he's the one that ends up taking and telling the coach if he's fired or not, who should be benched, who should be press box hero, um, and go with line changes. Maybe he was just tired of, saying, hey, just like a couple of years ago, Daniel Sprong was supposed to be in the lineup and they were supposed to be playing him with Sid. Well, Sid didn't want him on his line, so he ended up playing fourth line, or, Sullivan, had him up in the press box. Maybe he just got tired of that and decided, you know what? I'm not going to play this game anymore. I'm done. There's so many different things that can be speculated. And like I said earlier, he came out first thing and said it was not his health. He said he's healthy. He's perfectly fine. Um, he's pulled off some of the biggest deals. I mean, everybody said not every general manager is 100% on every deal they've made. The head scratchers are like, the Carl Hagelin leaving and bringing in Jack Johnson. Hey, but you got to remember when in 2016 he got rid of a guy who couldn't skate to save his life, from Rob Scuderi, who they were trying to get, that last little bit of magic out of him for being the piece. He traded him for Trevor Daley. Trevor Daley was one of the best defensemen the Penguins had that whole playoff run until he broke his ankle. And it was just, it was a shame that, he shattered his ankle blocking a shot, wasn't actually able to play in the Stanley Cup Finals. His mother's dying wish was for her to see him, raise the Stanley Cup. And right then and there, we knew, everybody should have known that, if the Pens won the cup, Sid was going to hand the cup off to Trevor Daley right off the bat. There was other, he got rid of James Neal for Patrick Hornquist. But then again, he turned around and got rid of Patrick Hornquist for, Mike Matheson and Colton Sevier. I mean, Colton Seavier's been playing fine. Mike Matheson, I think he needed some adjustment time to a new system and new defensive partner. And then, unfortunately, he got injured. But we have 5 years left of this kid. So I don't have a problem with it. He's got good speed. He's got good puck handling abilities. He'll be fine, once he becomes healthy again. But, yeah, I mean, Patrick Alvin taking over in the interim right now is it's not a bad thing. He's 15 years in the organization. The guys have a lot of respect for him. He's the first Swedish general manager in the NHL. So there's a couple things, that, we'll have to just wait them out and see. So, but we got tomorrow night, we got the Rangers, and then I think it's getting on Saturday and Monday. Let me double check. I do want to double check the schedule because tomorrow is the Rangers. That's fine. Yeah, we got the Rangers. Then on Monday the 1st, we got the Rangers again, and then on the 2nd, we're playing back-to-back. They're playing the Rangers and then the Devils, and then the Devils on Thursday after that. And then they got the Islanders. But tomorrow's Pens game usually would be one of those things where like around special birthdays, we try to take, family to games. Special shout out. Tomorrow is my oldest daughter's 20th birthday. Especially proud of her. She's a giant pain in the rear, but I love her to death. She's going to Penn State Beavers, playing softball. She's doing all the stuff she's doing right, except she's a pain in the rear. But I love her to death. Happy birthday, Maddie. I know you're going to enjoy it. You're hanging out with us for a little while, considering not too much you can do. You're not 21 yet, but we can have fun when you turn 21, and hopefully we won't have to wear a mask to do it. But on that note, like I said, happy birthday to my daughter, Madeline. Everybody enjoy the weekend. Enjoy each other. Have a good night. We'll talk to everybody next week, next Friday, for the next broadcast of Muckin N Grindin. Take care, everybody.